So we're talking about trauma and vicarious trauma, and what do we think lawyers should look out for in terms of how this stuff might affect them in their work when they're exposed to working with clients who've gone through trauma, do you think?
Yeah, so the impact of vicarious trauma can impact everyone differently. So this is in no shape, way, or form a comprehensive list, but it's really more an idea of what to maybe look out for in yourself or with those around you in terms of your colleagues. So it might kind of manifest in difficulty managing your emotions. Alternatively, it could be feeling emotionally numb and shut down. It can definitely impact your sleep, and that might just be fatigue, sleeplessness, or even difficulty falling asleep. And then there's obviously kind of physical problems in terms of aches, pains, headaches, and as I've kind of mentioned earlier, that constant stress can have an impact on your immune system. So you might have a decreased resistance to illnesses, so colds, flus on a constant basis. In terms of your focus, it might actually manifest in being easily distracted or being unable to kind of maintain your focus when you're doing tasks. A loss of sense of meaning in life or feeling hopeless about the future. Can also manifest in relationship problems in terms of withdrawing from friends and family or increased conflict or avoiding intimacy. And generally kind of feeling vulnerable or worrying excessively about the potential dangers in the world because that's what you see. And obviously that may be for yourself or for your loved ones. Increased irritability or aggressiveness, or even kind of violent or explosive outbursts in terms of your behaviour. Another one to look out for is really that kind of reliance on coping mechanisms, or that maladaptive coping mechanisms such as addictive behaviours. So you might be over or under eating. There might be substance or alcohol abuse, gambling, or even just taking more risks than usual, either in sports or when you're driving. And I suppose that kind of decreased participation in activities that used to be enjoyable. So you don't go to football anymore, you don't go to your usual class, and you really just feel yourself kind
The
of
world gets smaller,
your
doesn't
world gets smaller, definitely. So you really don't do the things that used to bring you joy. So those are the kind of main ones to look out for, and it's really just about noticing those changes in your behaviour or in the behaviour of those around you.
I think that one about your world getting smaller really resonates with me in terms of, like with lots of lawyers that I've worked with in therapy, like law is quite an overwhelming job, isn't it? And it's, often long hours, kind of all encompassing. So it's easy over time to just go, well, I'm just not going to see friends during the week, or, oh, I can't be bothered to see friends at the weekend. And then you can sort of hold it together in their work sense for a long time, I think, while everything else gets very, very small. And I think that's very common. And as you say, that numbness as well that people experience. I think lawyers are very good at sort of holding things together and just getting through it and numbing out without even realizing they're numbing out. And then later on, if you're out in the car, driving home, getting really annoyed with someone who's not let you out at a stop sign or something, like your reactions can be a bit outlandish, and it's kind of realizing, okay, that reaction there is not about this. It's about the fact that I've not been processing all this stuff I've taken on.
Yeah. And it really goes back to what I was talking about in previous videos about the window of tolerance. And that is really when you are in control and you are relaxed and you, like, challenges might come your way, but you'll be able to handle them. And again, it's when you start to dysregulate and you either go into a state of hyperarousal where you are anxious and you are angry and you're out of control, or you kind of go that opposite way into hypoarousal where you do start to kind of feel that numbness, you get to feel that kind of decreased responsiveness. And again, it's really about working on maintaining and expanding that window of tolerance where you are in control. And again, there's lots of ways that you can do that in terms of just listening to music, meditating, and even engaging in those hobbies that may have kind of fallen off your to-do list.
So because I was going to ask you about, how can lawyers kind of look after themselves in all of this, and I guess you kind of partly answered that already. Of like, if the goal is to sort of stay within your kind of window of tolerance, actually, some of these things, social activities, hobbies, this kind of stuff that we might write off and say, oh, that's frivolous, pointless stuff. Actually, it's really important because it can help you to expand that window of tolerance.
100%. And again, even just kind of increasing your self-observation in terms of actually taking a moment at some point every day to actually just check in to see how you're feeling, what emotions are kind of coursing through you, where you're feeling that in your body, and even journaling how you feel about it, just so you have kind of that way to capture it almost. And actually that's really good way to kind of promote that emotional regulation that can help with your window of tolerance. Generally looking after your body, you know, that sounds really, really trite, but it's just so important to focus on the basics. So in terms of how you're sleeping, what you're eating, if you can eat healthy, I would suggest we try that. Your basic hygiene, and even just exercise, because lawyers, we are quite a sedentary people. We are sitting at desks, at laptops, on trains, going to, and every so often you might stand up at court, or you might stand up every so often, but we are quite going to sit down. So really moving your body is such an important thing.
Yeah, and it's amazing, isn't it, when you think about trauma and how much we, you know, when you go through trauma, you store it in your body, and actually in order to shift trauma, often, you know, talking therapy is very helpful, but often body therapy or somatic therapies are really, really important to help relieve in things like yoga and acupuncture. And so it's a similar thing for the lawyers who are picking up this vicarious trauma or working with trauma, isn't it? As you say, to have movement is not just about keeping physically fit, it's also about sort of shifting the energy that you're storing in your body that you're not even aware of.
Yeah, so I think it was like Bethel Vanderpump, the body keeps a score, and that is so true. And again, working in a trauma-informed way does involve a lot of kind of somatic work to actually try and release that pent-up trauma, and actually even just taking a moment to literally shake it off and actually move your body can change everything, your entire perspective, your mood, your mindset, your mood, everything. And it's so important to kind of move your body on a regular basis. And again, I suppose it kind of shows how engaging in relaxing and soothing activities can be really, really helpful for that as well, in terms of kind of nurturing that self-care, and even just acknowledging that rest can be productive. I know that might again sound like dirty language. Rest days off. How dare you? In a public forum. But yeah, I think that rest is possibly the most productive thing that you can do in terms of actually just acknowledging that your body might be at capacity. And it's about encouraging that attitude of self-love and self-compassion, which can be very difficult for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely hear you on that. Thank you.